Imagine a bright, sunny day on a college campus. Birds are singing, students are laughing, and everyone is rushing to class. But this day is different. This is the day we meet Maria. Maria is a super smart student from Honduras. She came to the United States to study and make her dreams come true. She loves learning new things, making friends, and exploring her new home. Maria is at the top of her class, always helping others, and a true shining star. Being at college in America means everything to Maria. It's a chance to learn, grow, and become the person she always knew she could be. She works really hard in all her classes. She wants to make her family back home proud and show everyone that she can achieve great things. Little does she know, her dream is about to be threatened. But what is this threat? It's something called ICE. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're like police officers who work for the government. Their job is to make sure that people who come to the United States from other countries follow the rules. Sometimes, ICE officers visit places like colleges to check if everyone has the right papers to be in the country. It's like showing your ticket at a movie theater to prove you're allowed to be there. If someone doesn't have the right papers, ICE might have to ask them to leave the country. It's a serious job, and it can be scary for students who are trying to follow all the rules. Maria knew about ICE, but she never thought they would come to her school. The day ICE came to Maria's school started like any other. The sun was shining, and students were hurrying to their classes. Suddenly, black cars pulled up to the main building. People in uniforms got out and started walking around, asking students for their papers. A hush fell over the campus. Everyone was nervous. Maria was in the library, studying for a big test. She saw the ICE officers, and her heart started to beat faster. She knew she had her papers in order, but she still felt scared. It was like a scary movie playing out in real life. The officers walked into the library, and Maria tried to stay calm and focus on her books. But she couldn't help but wonder what was going to happen next. This unexpected visit turned an ordinary day into a nightmare. Suddenly, an officer stopped right next to Maria's table. "Excuse me," he said. "Can I see your papers?" Maria's hands trembled as she reached in her backpack. She carefully pulled out her passport and her student visa. She handed them to the officer, hoping everything was okay. The officer looked at the papers carefully. He frowned. "Your visa is expired," he said. Maria's heart sank. "But I sent him my renewal," she explained. "It's still being processed." She showed him the receipt that proved she had applied to renew her visa. But the officer said it wasn't enough. He said he had to take her into custody. Maria was arrested, even though she had done everything she was supposed to do. It seemed like a terrible mistake. A paperwork error was about to change her life forever. News of Maria's arrest spread quickly across the campus. Her friends couldn't believe it. They knew how hard she worked and how much she loved being at college. Her teachers were shocked and angry. They knew Maria was a brilliant student with a bright future. Even the college president was upset. He knew Maria's arrest was a mistake. Everyone who knew Maria knew she didn't deserve this. They couldn't understand why IC hadn't checked to see that her renewal was in process. It felt unfair and wrong. Maria's arrest left everyone feeling helpless and worried. They knew they had to do something to help her, but they didn't know where to start. The thought of Maria being sent away was unbearable. They had to find a way to bring her back. But what exactly is a visa? A visa is like a special permission slip that lets someone from another country come to the United States to study, work, or visit. It's like a ticket to enter the country legally. For students like Maria, a visa is super important. It allows them to attend school, live in the United States, and pursue their education. Without a valid visa, students might not be allowed to stay in the country. Maria's student visa was how she was allowed to be at the college. When it looked like her visa had expired, even though she had applied to renew it, it created a big problem. Now, people needed to understand how important that piece of paper was to Maria's future. It wasn't just a piece of paper, it was her dream. The college president knew he had to do something fast. He gathered his team and said, "We need to show IC that Maria is an important part of our community. We need to prove that she deserves to stay here." The college started collecting letters from Maria's teachers and friends. They wrote about how smart and kind Maria was and how much she contributed to the school. They showed IC Maria's excellent grades and all the awards she had won. They even contacted lawyers to help with her case. The college worked day and night to gather all the information they could to convince IC to let Maria stay. They were determined to fight for her and make sure she wasn't sent away because of a simple mistake. Maria's friends weren't just going to sit around and wait. They decided to organize a protest. A protest is when a group of people get together to show that they disagree with something. They might carry signs, chant slogans, and try to get attention so that people will listen to their concerns. Maria's friends made signs that said, "Free Maria," and "Let Maria stay." They gathered in the center of campus and started chanting, "No justice, no peace. Let Maria be released." They wanted to show IC and everyone else that they supported Maria and that they wouldn't give up until she was free. They knew that if they stood together, they could make a difference. They hoped their protest would help Maria come home. Something amazing happened. People started recording videos of the protest and posting them online. They used hashtags like #FreeMaria and #JusticeForMaria. Soon, the videos were being shared all over the internet. News websites and television stations started reporting on Maria's story. The protest went viral. This means that lots and lots of people saw the videos and heard about Maria's situation. People from all over the world started sending messages of support. They were signing online petitions and writing letters to IC, urging them to release Maria. The power of the internet was helping to spread Maria's story and put pressure on the authorities to do the right thing. It was incredible to see so many people coming together to help someone they had never even met. When something goes viral online, it means it spreads very quickly to lots of people. Imagine you tell a secret to one friend, and then that friend tells two more friends, and those friends each tell two more friends. Before you know it, everyone knows your secret. Going viral is like that, but much faster and on a much bigger scale. When a video or a story goes viral, it can reach millions of people in just a few hours. This can be a very powerful thing because it can help spread important messages and bring attention to important causes, like Maria's situation. The more people who knew about Maria's story, the more pressure there was on IC to take a second look at her case. Going viral gave Maria's supporters a much louder voice. With the protest gaining so much attention, several lawyers offered to help Maria for free. A lawyer is like a helper who knows a lot about the law. They can explain your rights and help you understand what's happening. They can also represent you in court and argue your case to a judge. These lawyers started working hard to show IC that Maria's arrest was a mistake. They gathered all the evidence, including her visa application receipt and letters of support from her teachers and friends. They argued that Maria had done everything right and that she shouldn't be punished for a paperwork delay. The lawyers were Maria's champions, fighting for her freedom and her future. They were determined to make sure she got a fair chance. While all this was happening, Maria was in a detention center, waiting to find out what would happen to her. One day, she felt hopeful, and the next day, she felt scared and sad. She missed her friends, her teachers, and her classes. She worried about her family back home in Honduras. The waiting was the hardest part. She kept thinking about all the things she might miss out on if she had to leave the United States. Would she ever get to finish college? Would she ever get to achieve her dreams? She tried to stay strong, but it was difficult. She knew that her friends, teachers, and the lawyers were doing everything they could to help her, and that gave her a little bit of hope to hold on to. While Maria was waiting, her friends and teachers kept working hard to help her. They wrote letters to government officials, explaining why Maria should be allowed to stay in the country. They called their representatives and asked them to look into Maria's case. Even people who didn't know Maria were moved by her story and wanted to help. They wrote letters and made phone calls, adding their voices to the growing chorus of support. The community came together in a powerful way to show that they believed in Maria and that they wanted her to have a chance to pursue her dreams. It was a reminder that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference in someone's life. But what would happen if Maria had to leave? Deportation means being sent back to your home country. For Maria, It would mean leaving behind her friends, her teachers, and her college. It would mean putting her dreams on hold, maybe forever. Deportation can be very hard for people because it separates them from their families and communities. It can also be difficult to start over in a new place, especially if you don't have any support. That's why everyone was working so hard to stop Maria's deportation. They knew that it would be a terrible loss, not just for Maria, but for the whole community. They didn't want to see her dreams destroyed. Finally, after what felt like forever, the good news arrived. ICE reviewed Maria's case and realized that her visa renewal had been approved. It was a mistake. They hadn't checked their records carefully enough. Maria was going to be allowed to stay in the United States and continue her studies. The lawyers called Maria to tell her the news. She couldn't believe it. She started to cry tears of joy. All her hard work and the hard work of her friends, teachers, and the community had paid off. She was going to get her dream back. It felt like a miracle. The paperwork lag that almost destroyed her future was finally resolved. Soon, Maria was released from the detention center. When she arrived back on campus, she was greeted like a hero. Her friends and teachers were all there to welcome her back. They cheered, they clapped, and they gave her lots of hugs. There were balloons and banners that said, "Welcome home, Maria." It was like a big party, celebrating Maria's victory and the power of community. Maria was so happy to be back with her friends and back in her classes. She knew that she would never forget what had happened and how much everyone had supported her. She was ready to start a new chapter in her life, filled with gratitude and determination. She was free. The atmosphere on campus was electric. Everyone was so happy and relieved that Maria was back. The students felt like they had won a big battle. They had shown that when people come together, they can make a real difference. The teachers were proud of their students for standing up for what was right. The college president was grateful that Maria's case had been resolved and that she could continue her education. There was a feeling of hope and unity that spread throughout the entire campus. It was a reminder that even in difficult times, good things can happen when people care about each other and work together. The near loss had brought them all closer. Standing before her friends and teachers, Maria took a deep breath. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." She promised to continue working hard in her classes and to use her education to make the world a better place. She said that she would never forget the kindness and support she had received, and that she would always try to help others in need. Maria knew that she had been given a second chance, and she was determined to make the most of it. She wanted to show everyone that she was worthy of their support and that she could achieve great things. Her journey had just begun. Maria's story teaches us that even when things seem impossible, we should never give up hope. It shows us that even small actions, like writing a letter or joining a protest, can make a big difference in someone's life. It reminds us that we should always stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult. And it teaches us that community is important and that when we support each other, we can overcome any challenge. Maria's experience also highlights the importance of checking paperwork and making sure that mistakes are corrected quickly. A simple error almost changed her life forever, but because people cared and took action, she was able to keep her dream alive. This story is about fairness and justice. It's about making sure that everyone is treated with respect and that everyone has a chance to pursue their dreams, no matter where they come from. It reminds us that it's important to listen to each other and to understand each other's stories. It shows us that even when we disagree, we can still work together to create a better world. And it teaches us that we should never be afraid to stand up for what we believe in, even when it's not easy. By learning from Maria's experience, we can all become better friends, better neighbors, and better citizens of the world. This story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Maria's story is a reminder that we are all connected and that we have a responsibility to help each other. It shows us that even when someone is facing a difficult situation, they are not alone. By standing up for Maria, her friends, teachers, and the community showed the world that they believed in her and that they valued her as a person. They demonstrated the true meaning of compassion and empathy. And they proved that when we work together, We can overcome any obstacle and create a more just and equitable world for everyone. So let's all remember Maria's story and strive to make a positive difference in the lives of others.